What's up, guys? The Chrome Corner's back again, and it is UFC 260. It's a big heavyweight matchup. Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ingano. They've already fought once, but Francis has made his way back to the title shot again. That's the main event, and there's a couple big names on this main card. But let me introduce our guest. It's your boy, Charlie T. What's up, brother? Oh, he's repping. He's repping. He's got the old school Memphis jersey on, Memphis State.
Yeah. NIT finals, dude. NIT finals.
NIT finals. Hey, they're trying to do the damn thing, and hey,
we got a chance to be. Listen, we got a chance to be the 65th best team in the country. But at least we can celebrate that. Next, hey, fuck the NCAA. Dude. They fucked us last year.
Hey, any win is a celebration, bro. Any win. Yeah. I'm just happy that for once in a long time, my alma mater, Arkansas, is in the in March Madness, and we're in the Sweet 16 now. So that's.
How does it go, dude? I'm about to do it. I'm gonna do
it. You gotta go pig suey, and then you do it 2 more times. On the 3rd time, you say pig suey Razorbacks. Yeah, once is enough. Is enough to get you to the Sweet 16. And we get to play Uriah Robertson. So we got a pretty good setup on. I think we got the worst team in the Sweet 16. So sick.
Arkansas fans. Dude, there was that meme they had Florida where it said, Florida's like, we're going to the Sweet 16. And then it showed Uriah Robertson's jersey. It said, oh, are you?
There's a lot of jokes that have gone around the Uriah Robertson team and on, especially if you follow Barstool. But anyways, we'll get off basketball for a minute. We got to throw in our alma maters there and the fact that we're from Memphis. So UFC 260, we're going to give you our fight picks. We're going to do the main card, and then we'll post on Instagram as usual who our picks are. So first fight of the night, we got Jamie Malarkey versus Kama Worthy. You're the guest, Charlie T. We'll let you go first. Who's your pick and why?
How generous of you. I'm of course going with Worthy. I mean, the guy was on a 7-fight win streak before his last loss. He got that he had a knockout loss. It was like October of last year, maybe September, one of those two. I remember the fight card. He's a really precision striker. He's really good. He's had quite a few knockouts, and gosh, I mean, I don't know much about Malarkey other than he's about to get his ass knocked out, Tom. I mean, I'm taking Worthy by knockout. I'm gonna go 2nd round. Wouldn't be surprised if it goes to decision, but I see this being kind of a one-sided fight. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but.
Hey, it's always when you get out of the top ranked fighters and when you get into the less known names, it's always kind of, you never know. It's one of those, sometimes it's a toss up because when the guys are younger or when they're less known, they usually have so much room to grow, and a lot of it depends on what time they're putting in, right, and how much they're growing when we don't see them. So, but I'm gonna go with Kama Worthy as well. I think that was a good pick. So when I looked at Jamie Malarkey's record, he only has 2 UFC fights, and he lost both of them. Not a great start. I mean, the UFC is the premier league for MMA, but that's not a good look. Kama Worthy has 3 UFC fights, 2 wins, 1 loss. And his record and who he's faced, he just seems like he's probably the higher tier fighter in this.
This fight's, I don't mean to cut you off at the end, but this fight seems like a throwaway fight on a main card. It seems like it doesn't belong on a main card because neither one is like a really big prospect.
Mm-hmm.
And neither one has a great record. I know records don't really matter so much in MMA as much as who you fought. But I don't know why it's on the main card, but hey, Dana White's the genius. He's worth $500 million.
They're lucky, especially Malarkey, a guy who's only got 2 UFC fights and they're both losses. This is a great opportunity for him. I mean, you don't get that opportunity much to be on a main card when you've lost twice in a row in the UFC. You know what I mean?
Especially when you got a guy named Nurmagomedov on the preliminary card.
I'm starting to see a trend with the UFC and in the prelim cards. I feel like they're starting to add better fights to those cards because they know they're on ESPN, and they almost want the sport to grow from the people who don't always buy pay-per-views and kind of make them want to buy pay-per-views. You know what I'm saying?
That's a smart point. You know, I think they did that with that Dominic Cruz fight last pay-per-view.
But we'll move on to the next fight. Next fight is the lone female fight of this main card. We've got Gillian Robertson, or Gillian, I'm not sure how you pronounce the first name, versus Miranda Maverick. And you took the pick on the last one, so I'll take the pick on this one. I'm going to go with Gillian Robertson. She's ranked number... Oh, it looks like you might have a different pick from your facial expression, but I'll let you...
100% have a different pick.
Oh, you 100% have a different pick. Okay, well... Mr. 100%, let me finish my reason, and then you can give yours. I'm gonna go Gillian Robertson. She's number 15. She's faced higher competition in the UFC. Miranda Maverick's only had one fight in the UFC. She did win that fight, but the person she fought wasn't as high of competition as Gillian Robertson's faced either. And I'm just going to go with this, me not knowing about too much about either one of these fighters, I'm going to go with the more experienced UFC fighter in Gillian Robertson. That's my reasoning, and Miranda's lack of experience on the other end. So, Charlie T, what are you looking at me so crazy for?
I'm not trying to look at you crazy. I just disagree with you.
Okay.
I'm a big believer in Miranda Maverick. I mean, not a lot of people watch because it's an all-women's MMA organization, for those people who don't know. But, dude, she was really good in Invicta. She won the flyweight tournament that they had there. Her first fight in the UFC, she brutalized her opponent. I mean, that was a doctor stoppage, the corner stoppage after the first round. Like, she is a really good striker. She's really fast. And, man, so here's my thing on Robertson. I mean, I think she's a good fighter. I think she's being set up to lose in this fight, honestly. But I watched her fight Macy Barber, and she got absolutely demolished in that fight.
That's
Macy
true.
Barber, we're kind of learning, is not there yet. And I think Miranda Maverick is close to the level Macy Barber is. And I just don't see this being much of a fight. I think Miranda Maverick wins. I think she wins by knockout or, like I said, unanimous decision.
Go back to you, Charlie T. We've got a potential superstar. I would call him a star at this point, but a potential superstar in the UFC, returning from a previous fight where he lost due to an injury. He wasn't really able to continue fighting, so he got beat up in it. They stopped the fight, but Sean O'Malley is facing Thomas Almeida. So who is your pick and why?
Okay, so this fight kind of like rubs me kind of the wrong way, because the UFC kind of knows they have a superstar when they set somebody up with just a great fight. Mm-hmm. They set somebody up after a tough loss with just a fight that they know, like, man, they can show out in this fight. That's the type of fight this is for Sean O'Malley. I mean, nobody expected him to get knocked out in this fight. Obviously, that injury played a part in it. But, dude, Thomas Almeida is, I mean, argue he's on the, back nine of his career. I mean, he's lost 4 of his last 5 fights. Obviously, he got knocked out by Garbrandt a few years ago. That kind of sent him on that tailspin. He's lost his last 3 fights. I mean, he's fought once since 2018. And Sean O'Malley was pretty freaking active until that injury in that last fight. I mean, the fresher fighter, obviously. I don't know what. I mean, other than setting O'Malley up for a nice, comeback win, I don't see the point of throwing Almeida in there with him. It's a credible win. It's a good win. I think it obviously would have been a much better win for Sugar Sean if it had been 4 years ago than 2021 because Thomas Almeida's name doesn't have that same type of cachet. But yeah, I'm taking O'Malley, and I'm just going to take him to win. I'm not going to take him to knockout, but I think he wins handily.
Okay. I don't disagree with your analysis there. I think that it's pretty obvious that they see that they have a star on their hands, and in my opinion, they learned a little bit from how fast they moved up Sage Northcutt in the same way that they're moving up Sean O'Malley. I do think Sean O'Malley has been given a slightly easier road for his skill set and his age than a Sage Northcutt. Now,
to be fair, I have to say, I think O'Malley has much more talent than Sage Northcutt. I'm just going to say that.
I think I see what you're saying. Okay, so when you say talent, do you mean skill, or do you mean well-rounded game? Do you mean athletic ability, that type of talent? What do you mean?
All I'm going to say, they sent Sage Northcutt with the one, and Cosmo Alexandre knocked his ass out in like 30 seconds and broke his face. So, I'm not saying Sage Northcutt, obviously, a competent fighter. He fought pretty well in the UFC. He has an interest to his name. He got dominated by, Mickey Gall. Mickey Gall has looked really sluggish the last few fights. I haven't seen O'Malley get dominated like that. Obviously the injury helped him get knocked out, but obviously he's been really good when he's been healthy. So if he loses it, his stock goes from here to there.
So to start bringing this to a close, the O'Malley talk, I'm going to go with O'Malley as well. I think that this is, like you're saying, one of those fights where they're kind of giving him an easy comeback fight, kind of like a tune-up fight. People talk about it all the time. This guy got a tune-up, or I don't get tune-ups. They don't treat me the same way as so-and-so, da-da-da. And I think that it's because of Sean O'Malley's potential stardom. But I will say this. I see O'Malley as a potential, I don't know how his career is going to pan out, but I see him as potentially, without as long of a career that it took to get there, I think he's potentially a Jorge Masvidal or a Nate Diaz. And people are going to want to see him because he is this character outside of the octagon, and he's developing a star, this star power, and he can knock guys out like a Jorge Masvidal, right? But we would agree Jorge Masvidal is probably not skilled like a Kamaru Usman. You know what I'm saying?
No, I see what you're saying. I just think I think O'Malley's just way too talented to fall into that same thing. I see him more along the lines of not as successful as Conor McGregor, but I think he does reach gold. I think he holds the belt at some point.
Well, I think so. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I don't think that he falls into as many losses as those guys in his career, but I can see him having the same fan base that remains when he has hype. So if his last loss, right, his stardom did fall, like it did come down, like he didn't have the same hype behind him. But if he wins again, he's going to be like this. I think his trajectory is going to go straight up because people know the potential he had. You know what I'm saying? He has that. So if Nate Diaz was to come back, say he fought Conor a third time or something, like whoever he fights. Say he fought Conor a third time and he won. Nate Diaz's stock is going to go like this too. Right, we've got Tyron Woodley versus Vicente Luque. T. Wood is on a 3-fight skid. Luque is an up-and-coming guy. This is a super important fight for him, worth noting, because not many UFC fighters can come back from a 4-fight skid. 3-fight skids are like that borderline. 2 fights, if you're not a big name, is scary. But T. Wood, having the history he has, 3 fights is more of where it starts getting scary for him, if you ask me. then when you hit that 4 level, it's like, whoa, man, like, is this guy, like, you know, people, not everyone, people are going to start thinking, though, should this guy even keep fighting? Should he be in a different league? All these things are going to be thrown out there. It depends on who you are, what you really think. Vicente Luque, I'm sorry, I keep saying it wrong. Vicente Luque, he's had a little bit lower caliber competition to Tyron Woodley, but he's also had more success recently than Woodley. He did lose to Wonder Boy, who's someone that Woodley beat. I pick Tyron Woodley. I think that Woodley is gonna, I see that face again, I think Woodley's gonna wake up in this fight. I think that he's gonna pull it off, but let me be clear, I do not think that Woodley ever touches gold again. I don't think that he does, but I think that he's gonna wake up enough and he's gonna do enough to beat Vicente Luque, and I'm gonna go win based on decision.
I respect him as a fighter. He's a great champion. Dude, he's actually a client of my company. You know, he's got his suits from Tom James before, so I don't want to say anything bad about a customer. But of course, I'm not gonna say anything bad. I'm just gonna be honest. I think every great champion eventually hits a steep decline where they start to hang on too long and they don't know when to get out. I hope that doesn't happen to T Wood, because I hate to see it happen. I mean, he fought Covington way too late, because I think T Woodley 3-4 years ago, that fight with Colby is much more competitive and he got absolutely dominated. Luque, he beat Mike Perry. The last 2 fights come by knockout. He said he had that one loss to Wonder Boy, but in between that, he just rattled off win after win. I mean, Luque has a lot of knockouts. So he is definitely someone who can finish you. Unfortunately, I hate to say this, but I think Woodley gets finished. I think he gets knocked out, and I think this is his last fight in the UFC.
Ooh.
I hope he doesn't hang on any long after this, just because I love watching him fight.
Back to you on the final pick for the main event of the night. We've got Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ingano.
I don't understand, like I said, we talked about this off camera, why Stipe is the underdog. When the first time they fought, he controlled the pace of the fight. He was all over Francis, won easily, and he's the underdog. I don't like that. I don't see how. I don't see why. I think people get caught up way too much in the Ngannou hype train. I mean, he has some of the most vicious knockouts against Rosenstruck and Overeem we've probably ever seen in UFC. But dude, he's not going to beat Stipe. Stipe's not going to fight him. I mean, he's going to avoid the big flurries of punches that are bound to come from Francis. He's going to control the pace. He's going to take him down, and he's going to win it, just like he did the first fight. Stipe's going to win this by decision. I don't think it's going to go much different than the first one. If I'm wrong, I'll obviously eat crow, but I am not going to be wrong on this, I don't think. So Stipe, by decision, I don't even think it's a tough call, honestly. I think this is one fight that is getting a lot of hype, and it has a huge billing, but I don't know why Stipe's the underdog, because he's going to win.
I'm going to go with Stipe as well. I purely just think he's more skilled overall than Francis, kind of touching on the same points you made. Francis, he is on a tear, and I do think that he deservingly worked his way back up to a title fight. I mean, he's on a 4 KO streak. All 4 of those KOs came in under 1 minute and 11 seconds, or right at 1 minute and 11 seconds. If he catches him, he's going to send his head outside the octagon. But more than likely, I think Stipe is going to outskill him and he's going to win again based on a decision. I don't think there's any chance he KOs Francis. I think it's just because of Francis's size, I even think that it's still a slim chance that he even submits him. He does win by decision, unanimous.
I agree. I'm excited.
John Jones.
And that is the fight I would like to see, because those are two guys who are going to come in at that 230 to 240 range. They're not going to be overly big heavyweights, and they're going to rely more on technical skills, takedowns, obviously wrestling, and it's not going to be a pure striking match. And I love seeing heavyweights fight technically, because it reminds me of the Pride days when you had heavyweights who were more technical and could fight a more, I'd say, skilled fight with, instead of just throwing strikes the whole time. They look kind of they fought like, featherweights and lightweights fight now. And I would like to see the heavyweight division get, back to that somewhat. So I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I think this is a great crossroads, not necessarily all of them in their career, but if Francis wins this, his whole life changes, right? If Stipe wins this, he's going to probably fight John Jones, so his whole life changes. Even though he's still the champ and remains the champ, his life changes. Tyron Woodley, if he wins this, his life changes. He's on a big skid. If Sean O'Malley wins this, his life changes because he gets that trajectory again, which we know is going to go up a lot because he's Sean O'Malley. There's a lot to be won on this card, I do want to point out we got some new additions back here. Charlie can't see it on the screen, but it will be on the screen in the YouTube video I showed him earlier. We've got Uriah Faber right here. I met him at a fitness expo in Dallas, Texas a couple years back. He was cool, talked to me for a minute. I was working a booth, he was working a booth. Signed this for me, and so I framed it, put it up here. He was a super cool guy. Really cool, down-to-earth guy. What's that?
California kid. Have to add in Uriah Faber was on WEC legend. He was on the funniest season of Ultimate Fighter when he coached with Conor McGregor.
When he coached with McGregor.
That shit was hilarious.
That season was hilarious. We were talking about it. He was like, man, Cody's next. I think he's going to win it. And I was like, I think so too. And then it wasn't about a month later or something, Cody won it. And it was like, damn, I remember talking to Faber about this. That was crazy.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, I just wanted to add that. I'm going to be adding more over time. Just the more time goes on, I'll get more stuff, more memorabilia, and hopefully meet more fighters. And this page and show will grow, and we'll start interviewing some fighters. Thank you, Charlie T, for your fight picks. We are out for this episode.